Well, the first thing to say is that Daniel Craig has got his mojo back, baby. Finally. And despite having two first names, boy has he proved that he's still got what it takes to be a cracking Bond. After spending the previous two movies moping around and looking sleepy and forlorn, the blonde Bond super spy actually seems to have some life in him this time around. Although Craigie boy is really looking his age, I must say. His face may look like a shriveled walnut that just won't crack, but he's actually looking like he's having a good time for once. Whether that's because he's out from under the direction of Sam Mendes, or simply because he knows this is the last time he has to hit the gym at 4 a.m. and never has to do this again, who knows? But he feels like he's actually engaged with the material and not just cruising around on autopilot waiting for the check to clear. Also, I'm happy to report this movie is not woke. Well, it's a little bit woke. But it seems all those trailers that were trying to push this ideological nonsense was just a giant troll from the marketing department to generate controversy. Well done on that, I guess. Mission accomplished. But honestly, I didn't notice any kind of feminazi OTT agenda pushing, or at least nothing that quite takes you out of the movie. You know, the shot of Bond riding on the back of the scooter being driven by a strong black female of colour who is the bestest ever. Yeah, that was just a storm in a teacup. It's literally because his car breaks down and she offers him a lift. That's it. That's literally it. So calm your titties. She's highly trained and been in the job for 2 years, so it makes sense how capable she is as a 00. And she gives back the 007 moniker to Bond in the third act anyway. Don't ask me about the plot. Okay, if you're watching the spoilers video, chances are you've already seen the movie and probably know more about it than I do. Mainly because I couldn't understand a word coming from that pound shop Phantom of the Opera guy's mouth. For me, this film had a clear tenet problem with Safin's dialogue. I couldn't hear a word he was saying, honestly. And, you know, maybe that's a possible intentional choice by the filmmakers. Probably something about toxins poisoning his facial muscles, resulting in a permanent case of excessive mumbling, who knows. Do you expect me to die, Mr. Bond? No, but I expect you to at least speak clearly. But if this was intentional, why not crank his dialogue to 11 stupid if you're going to go that route? It's almost like they got Christopher Nolan on as a consultant for the audio mix and let him go full Bane. You never go full Bane! Lashana Lynch, not much to say about her. Competent but perfunctory comes to mind, really. I don't feel like we ever learned anything about her of any importance or interest. I think her character could probably be removed from the movie and not much would have to be reworked, which is probably a sign that your script needs another rewrite, by the way. Leah Sadoku. Yeah, however you pronounce it, she's the beating heart of this film. The things she can do with her eyes alone is just enchanting. Really, really good performance and far more chemistry with Craig here than she ever displayed in the last movie, Spectre. The cinematography was a little disappointing. Nothing here that remotely touches the work of art that's basically Skyfall. But then nothing can touch that crusty old coot Deakins because he's in a league of his own. Also, there's not really too many outstanding stunts in this film, or at least none that are particularly memorable. Like every single Bond movie has that stunt. Casino has the opening parkour stuff. The ending where everything comes tumbling down in Venice. Skyfall has as I mentioned, the neon skyscraper stuff. Spectre has the opening Mexican long shot. And even Quantum of Solace had that aerial chase on the planes, if you remember. But in No Time to Die, there's not actually a memorable sequence. I'm really trying to think. I can't think of something. There's a really lame car chase through like a forest. I mean, it's pretty low effort, standard Bond stuff. Not really that interesting, to be honest. This doesn't even come close to even attempting to match the scale and awe-inspiring complexity of what Nolan did in Tenet. Although this film was probably shot before that movie even started shooting, they don't even try to do anything like that. You know, remember in Tenet with the whole third act, that crazy stuff, all the buildings exploding in backwards, reverse. The sheer scale of all of that really felt like Christopher Nolan's Bond audition. All of those stunts, but nothing in this movie comes even close to any of that, which is pretty disappointing. The presence of Phoebe Waller-Bridge on the script is clearly felt throughout this flick. And not for the reasons you might think. The female characters aren't really that spotlighted, but her humour is all over this. And at first it's actually so jarring it takes you out of the scene, especially in the early part of the film. Or maybe just the sight of seeing Hugh Dennis messing around in a smallpox lab was a little too touch of cloth for my liking. That was very strange. It's very strange to see the guy of Mock the Week turn up in a Bond movie. But props to director Kerry fuck if I can pronounce it, for straddling a very thin line of tonal congruence and doing a lot of gymnastics to balance the serious and jovial tones the members of the writing team have sprinkled into this soup. Because I can't imagine that's an easy job to do. Trying to match the tone of a serious Bond movie with a sense of humour of Fleabag is never going to be easy. And I feel like they pulled it off. Once you get into the movie, the humour's less jarring, so that's good. Oh, Christopher Waltz, man. I feel bad for him. Waltz is so woefully miscast in this role. I said that, Inspector, I say it here. The geezer projects all the malevolence of a disabled egg. When Bond and his arch-nemesis get into a room to show down, it's like all the tension suddenly deflates. And that's never good. I mean, Craig looks bemused, and Waltz seems to think he's doing some sort of SNL spoof. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, it's hardly Batman and Joker in the interrogation room level quality. He's just really irritating. There's just no threat from Blofeld, especially when he's suddenly taken out like a chump off screen from what one can only assume is Daniel Craig's toxic machismo breath. Like, seriously, it just cuts back to Blofeld and he's just slumped in his chair, like, dead. And that's it. Like, we went through all of Spectre to see Bond face off with this guy, and he's just literally killed by a dose of bad breath. I know it's supposed to be the robots or some BS, but that was an awkward cut. That was really embarrassing. Like, for someone who's supposed to be this overarching villain, that was an embarrassing way to go out, son. You know, I mean, back in Spectre, Blofeld was meant to be this whole overarching, all-encompassing villain who's responsible for everything and all of Bond's woes and misery. And here, somehow a little limped gimp with severe acne kills Bond's arch-nemesis in the middle of the highly secure Belmarsh prison complex with perfume. I mean, what were they thinking? But what I found funny was that Ana de Armas, man, she's in one scene, but she steals the entire first act. She's in one sequence, and the whole hour you're just thinking about her. Like, you don't want to watch anything else on the screen. I didn't catch her character's name or even her purpose for being in the film, because I was too busy making a note of the costume designer on IMDb to check out more of her work in other films, if you know what I mean. I mean, what a dress. But man, she has a real spark in her eyes, and I think I spoke for the entire audience when I say she should have been in the entire movie. Or she should have been in the entire film, or not at all. Because you can't tease a character this good and then never have her show up again. It reminds me in Series 3 of Line of Duty, when they set up a cracking character in Danny Waldron, only for the poor sod to taste lead by the end of episode 1. Talk about blue balls. Also, Bond has a kid. I don't know how he has a kid, because as we all saw in Casino Royale, he had his ball bag grounded into nuts. Pardon the pun. I don't know how he has a kid, but he does. She's clearly his kid as well. Madeline tries to say that he's not, but the kid has like giant blue eyes. It was just nonsense. But a massive problem here is that as soon as the child is introduced in the halfway point of Act 2, you know exactly where this movie is going. Like, beat for beat, you can predict the entirety of Act 3. Look at it this way. If poison is the villain's main weapon, you know damn well the hero is going to be infected at some point, right? If it's designed to target the DNA of the hero, and the movie just introduced the hero's child, well, you know he ain't ever going to get off the island and have a nice reunion and live happily ever after, right? That's just film lore 101. On this occasion, it might have been nice to have our expectations subverted for once, and I know I have to be very careful when I say that, mainly in case Rian Johnson overhears and tries to ruin another sodding franchise.
Oh, no.
And as an aside, this movie is very literal for some reason. It starts with a literal cold opening, features characters literally driving into the sunset, and ends with a literal light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't know what to make of that. Make of that what you will. But I thought it was interesting to point that out. And as for that ending, well, it was pretty obvious that was coming. Hashtag rest in pieces. And it's really the only way that the Craig version of the mopey, angsty, self-flagellating super spy story could really end. Especially given Craig's tenure seems to be an enclosed 5-story arc. And I'm not really that bothered they killed him, to be honest. If nothing else, at least it's a bit different. And as an ex-Doctor Who fan, most of us are used to end of eras as a new actor and team refresh the franchise every few years. So I look forward to see who they'll cast next. And given current trends, my guess is a wheelchair-disabled pansexual, non-white actor of indeterminate gender, with bright blue hair and a lisp. Personally, I hope the next 007 is Uncle Ben off the Rice adverts. He needs a new job now he's been kicked off the face of his own tins. And let's be fair, he checks enough boxes to be considered for the role. Me name be Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben Bond. In terms of the opening titles, look, I'm probably in the deep minority when I say this, and I'm not going to apologise for it either, but I'm one of the few who love the theme for this film. I can't stand mumble pop and Billie Eilish's teen emo dirge. It's not my cup of tea at all, but man, her husky soulful voice is perfect for the tone and theme for this movie. I'm surprised. I thought she did a really good job with this, actually. 10 times better than all the others. I think this might actually become my favourite of the Daniel Craig's Bond themes. I think Casino Royale's title sequence is easily the best, but I think song-wise, No Time to Die is actually one of my favourites. I know, sue me. It's just a shame that the visuals let it down completely, though. I'm not sure whose decision it was to go with the usual, standard kaleidoscopic nonsense, but none of it seemed to be correlated to the mood of the song or the tone of the movie. And it's funny, if you watch the official No Time to Die video, it's far more suited to the melody and atmosphere of the lyrics. I feel like this sequence should have been far more simplistic. Maybe have smoky, monochromal silhouettes featuring faces from Craig's entire tenure, especially because of the line in the lyrics where it says "faces from my past return." That might have been a lot more appropriate, but I think they didn't go that route because Spectre did that last time in the opening credits. So I think basically Spectre blew its load too early in the franchise. Hey ho. But still, no matter how predictable all this might be, it's still a nicely made film. The ending still packs a punch. It takes way too long to get there. The setup, 2 hours of setup for that ending is taking the piss a little bit. I mean, it is a bit of a slog to get through. The pacing's really bad. Skyfall still has easily the best pacing. Also, I can't help but feel that they should have all been drinking vodka martinis, shaken not stirred at the end. Because I don't think they were. I think they were just drinking gin or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were drinking vodka martinis, but that seemed like that would have been more apt. But overall, this was nowhere near as bad as I was expecting, so I'm happy about that. This is not the train wreck, which was Spectre. that convoluted mess that was just so painful to sit through. This is at least better than that. At the end of the day, honestly, I was expecting Quantum of Shite, and I got budget Skyfall. So, not too shabby. I'd say this was a solid 7.5. It has a baggy, meandering middle, but a strong top and bottom. And no, that's not a reference to Katie Price. Damn! So what do you think? Was this a fitting send-off for Daniel Craig? Are you excited about what comes next? Are you going to miss him? What do you think of the whole franchise? I'd love to know. And you can tell me if I was wrong about anything in the comments, which I'm sure I was. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm about to go write a thank you letter to this movie's costume designer and print off an A3 collage of all the pictures I can find of Anna D, whatever her name is. You stir, not shaken, just like my rice.